Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. As you can tell, we got some boxes on the truck. This is the suspension kit for my 2023 Frontier here. It's a complete IMS suspension kit from Dobinsons. So I figured before we get it on the truck, I'll show you what's all included in the package. I'll show you everything that's here behind me. And if you want to see this installed and how it works and out on the trails on my 2023 Frontier, make sure to like and subscribe because that'll be coming up. Not booked in quite yet, but the parts are in, so obviously it'll be going on the truck soon. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe. All right, so like I said, I got the complete kit from Dobinsons, and shout out to them. It's not a sponsored video in any way. They're not paying me to say anything good or bad about their product, but I did email them, said, hey, this is what I'm doing for YouTube, and they gave me quite a smoking deal on it. So shout out to Dobinsons. Without them, we might not have went quite as hardcore as this. But at least for you guys, if you're looking to do a full suspension lift on your truck, this is everything that's included. You got your front struts there and here, shocks, leafs. These are some goodies that go with it. And then I also got their billet upper control arms. So let's get unboxing. We'll start off with the leaf springs right here. And basically what I've done is I went with the heavy duty rear leaf springs and the heavy duty front struts. Reason being, if you follow the channel, you know, but we do have a few goodies on the front of the truck. So the front heavy duty springs will take up the weight of that. And then I figured the heavy duty rear leafs for the back, because once you start loading this thing up, I've got 3 kids. So even if I don't have a rack or anything on here quite yet, when you start loading up the bed, you're going to add a lot of weight. So not only will this give you a little bit of a lift, but it'll take the extra weight once it goes on the back, and I don't have to worry about it in the future. But if you look here, I've got these things opposite of each other, just so you can see a little better. But you have your one fat side, and then this side is slightly smaller. If you're putting this on your truck, some people don't know this, but the big side is actually towards the front. You'll see that when we get into some of the other stuff. I'll mention it when we get to that point. But if you're wondering which way these go, fat to the front, skinny to the rear. And basically, this is all sent just like this from Dobinsons. You got all your leafs here. It's very heavy duty. It's not gonna be breaking on you or anything if you throw some extra weight back there. It's made for the lift. It's made to add for the extra weight, and you won't have any worries when you start loading up your truck. Especially if you're going off-road, if you're having a tent and a rack, and of course you throw food and water and all the supplies you need in the bed here, you're gonna get the extra weight. So these babies will definitely be able to handle that. All right, now to go along with the springs are these 2 boxes. They are the same, and what this is a little bit beefier U-bolt. And these U-bolts are to bolt your leafs down around the rear axle here on each side. These make up for the height difference. They're a little tougher than what's on there. Only thing with this is, now this is the only thing you really have to modify to install this entire kit. The little plate that sits underneath here, where these bolt into, you reuse that from the stock leaves. So because it's slightly smaller, the 4 holes that these 4 points will go into need to be drilled out slightly. Just ream them out, make them a little bigger, and the heavier duty U-bolts here will drop right into that plate, and you can use it to mount your leafs again. That's the only thing you got to modify on this. Everything else is basically just bolt on. And now, still sticking with the leaf springs, you can open up this box, and what we have in here are your bushings. All Delrin bushings, all ready to go. You can see this specific one has a little steel insert in it already. I'll show you why that is in a sec. Basically, you get 2 of those. In here, you get 4 of these longer ones, and you also get 4 of these little ones. They're all ready to go, and if you look closely in here, you can kind of see it's got a little bit of a hex, kind of checkered pattern in there. I'll show you why again in a sec, but basically you can see in the box, you get 4 of each. So you got the 2 big ones, basically these guys that are kind of pre-assembled. They go in the fat end here. You can pull it apart. I know it looks like it's stuck together, but you just pull them apart, bash them back together in there. That's where that goes. And then as for these, we'll have to open up this next box because you can see where that belongs and how it works exactly. Because now in this next box, we have their shackles, rear shackles. Now they call them the extended shackles. If you hold these up, at least on the Frontier here, these are not really extended, but the reason I went with it, now you don't necessarily have to use this. You can reuse the shackles that come with the truck. It does fit, it works just fine. But reason I got them, I figured, number one, you can see here, they have the little grease nipple on the end. So, of course, you got your holes in there. These, once they're on the truck, you can grease them up. Stop squeaking, makes everything last a little longer, just better overall system for the truck. You got one for each side, of course. And now, like I mentioned with the little bushings here, when you get to that point, the two bigger ones, you can see kind of go half and half, and the two little ones here also half and half. And now coming back to the little hex thing in there, when you have these on and you're pumping this up, because it has that little hex pattern in here, when the grease starts popping out of the holes, it has a chance to work its way through this entire bushing, as well as pop out the end here a little bit, and it'll also grease up the outer ring here. So when you put these on, I'll try to get it on video, it's kind of hard to see, but if you put them right up tight together and you put it in here, you can see it's got a little bit of play. So what they're doing is when you put this on and it's in there in place on the truck, it'll have a little bit of a gap here, and then again, not only can the grease go inside the bushing itself and around the outside, but it'll come out the middle here, and then you have these little grooves on all these as well, and the grease can work its way down and around the entire inside as well, because this, once it's all on, will be in here like such. So the grease will go in, it'll grease the entire inside, it'll grease the entire outside, and it'll grease the outer ring here once it's on the truck. All with just this one. So you pump it up, it'll grease everything for you. Less squeaking, because for me especially, I hate when suspension squeaks. So I think these were only $100. For $100, you might as well switch them out. Even if it's not necessary, I highly recommend this. And then, keeping on this same note, as I mentioned, these guys have the little insert in here already. And I don't know if it'll show up kind of there. You can see there's two little holes. And that is for the grease as well. So let's get the next box open and I'll show you exactly what goes in here. So opening the last box up, you have their pins or their bolts, and they are also greasable. You can see you got your little nipple on the end there. It's got one hole in the middle, and basically this will go in those. So that'll replace the bolt on the one side. Again, the bigger side is the front. So this will replace the bolt on the front end. You put this all together, put this bolt through, and again, when you start pumping this sucker up with grease, it'll fill up the little hollow bolt inside, start puking out the little tube there, and in turn, we'll start going into here, and then again, those have the little holes inside there, so it'll come in there, fill up here, grease everything inside, and again, you can see there's a little gap there. It's not quite exactly touching, so the grease can come out and get up to the top here, and it basically just greases everything exactly like the rear shackles will. So again, the more grease, the longer everything lasts, the less squeaking and noises you're going to get, and just a better overall ride at the end of the day. Alright, so that is it for the leaf spring portion of it. Now of course, to go with the leaf springs, we need our shocks. So in this box is your IMS shocks from Dobinson. Now this is how they come. You can see through the little blue protective netting here. It says IMS on here. This will just slide off when the install time comes. You got your boot. The one side has the bushing already installed, and then you got this little wire on here. What this is basically just to keep this thing compressed so they can fit in a smaller box, a little easier for shipping and stuff. All you got to do to get that out, stand this thing up, push it down, and you'll get enough spring in this to be able to pop that out. Don't try to do it on this side because you can see it's a little bigger. It hooks right through the entire thing. Whereas if you flip to this side, you just have the little tiny part in the middle there. So push down, that'll slide right out, and then this thing will start to expand right away. So that's all it is for the shock itself. This specific truck, you can see you've got the bushing and stuff already installed on the one side. That will go in. Some trucks on the other side, they have a bolt, and this just bolts kind of up in there. You screw the nut on, you're good to go. This truck is not like that. So we also get this extra little baggie here. But in this bag, what we do need, you get 2 of these little rubber bushings as well. And basically, once this is out of the way, just 1 on each side, and then of course grease this up a little bit. It'll go in a lot easier. 1 on each side, and then as you tighten it or tighten down the bolt, it'll just sandwich these into place, and then your bushing is ready to go inside here. So that's what those are for. All right, and now moving on to the front, we have in these boxes our struts. And as you can see, this is fully assembled. Now, from Dobinson, if you want, you can order the spring, shock, and the cap separately. If you want them to send it to you like this, pre-built, ready to go, ready to bolt onto the truck, I think it was $100 again. I'm not exactly sure. Go on their website. It'll tell you everything on there. But basically what they do is they give you a new cap here for the top. So this is all ready to go. They compress the spring for you. They put it all together, so you don't need any of that stuff. If you don't want to have to worry about this thing blowing off the spring compressor and hurting you, maybe you don't have one, you just don't have the know-how. Now this is ready to just come off the truck. Take the new one right, or the original one off. This sucker is ready to bolt right into place. So for me, being new to all this suspension truck stuff anyways, I opted to pay the extra money and just have this done. It's ready to go, saves you a bunch of time, a bunch of headache, and now you can just unbolt and bolt this one on like I said. Other thing with these shocks or struts is you can see the thread here. They are adjustable. If you aren't happy with how they have these things set, you can adjust it yourself. It comes with these little wrenches here. You can see it's got kind of a little notch there and a notch here. And basically those notches fit into the 2 grooves here. And you can adjust this up and down. In this kit, they do send a paper with a list, a bunch of different trucks, and they give you a measurement. The measurement, they want you to go, if you look here, this thing kind of steps down a little bit to the end of your spring here. They want you to measure from that point to the center of the hole here where your bolt will go through. That's where you're measuring. So if you're going off of whatever truck or whatever you're putting this on, that is where they want you to measure from. I believe it's from the top to the middle. I could be wrong. Make sure you double check that yourself. I'll double check when I actually install this. But from what I'm remembering anyways, is it's from here to the center of the hole. And then again, if you want to go up or down, depending on what the adjustment says, you may have to compress this thing. I wouldn't recommend trying to crank this thing up with the spring pressure on there. There's ways to do that. I'll mention that in another video, but I don't want to make this one drag on too long. But it is literally as easy as spinning this down. This whole thing will relax, tightening it up, and it'll keep it all compressed. And then of course it locks it back into place once you let go. And now last but not least with this kit, and again, you don't have to necessarily buy these because they are expensive. They're a little over $1,000 US, but Dobinsons makes these sweet billet upper control arms. In this bag, of course, you get some stickers, you get the little wrench to adjust it, and some hardware to go with it. And what these are exactly like I said, billet upper control arms. So if we can get one out of here, this is what you are looking at. Everything solid chunk of aluminum. Now you might think, oh, aluminum is pretty weak. These things are heavy duty. It's all sealed. You got your ball joint in there, all good to go. Got your cap installed here. It's all sealed. You're not going to get any gunk and grime in there. And then of course, they are fully adjustable. You can see that's what the little wrenches for. You can adjust this exactly to where you want this to sit on your truck, both sides. So when this is on, if you need to adjust it slightly both ways, maybe the whole thing has to come out, you want one side a little in, other side a little in, you got tons of play on these things to adjust it everywhere. And then when you flip this over, you can see it's got a little gap here. You can actually see the thread of the bolt in there. And then you got a little tiny hole here. So once you get this where you want, you tighten down your nuts. That'll kind of hold it in place. That's what the wrench is for. And then if you get these little bolts that come with it, when you get it in place, you put a bolt through here, crank it down. It'll actually pinch this together, make it tight. And when that pinches, it'll pinch where the bolt is actually in there. So it won't be able to unthread on you. So to lock the bolt itself in, pinch this, that's all you need. To lock the end here from spinning like this, you lock the two nuts together. So right now you can see it's going back and forth, because if you actually get this thing apart, it's not like it's one bolt with two nuts. It's actually this nut is attached to the thread you see in here, and then the bolt that is on the end of this piece here threads into this one. So it's actually like a bolt threading into a bolt. So it allows you to adjust way outwards if you need to for some reason. Because as you can see, this thing I believe is threaded all the way to pretty much where it starts to curve here. So it's actually that long. You got probably 2.5 inches in here. Plus this bolt threading into that one would be another like 2 inches most likely. So that is one of the reasons you should get these, not only because they look awesome, but they actually work awesome. And of course, this being a Frontier is a new truck. They don't like being lifted. You'll end up getting contact with everything. You'll hit. You do need upper control arms. So if you're going to need upper control arms anyway, why not spend an extra few bucks and get something that's not only going to last long, but it's going to look sweet while it's under there. So there you have it, guys. This is the entire kit for the Frontier. It's an IMS kit from Dobinsons. Now, like I mentioned, you don't have to go this hardcore. You can get just the springs, just the shocks, just the leafs. You can get just the little parts if you want. Any part of this is sold separately. So depending what you want, you can pick just specific ones up. Or if you want to go out and do the whole shebang like I'm doing, you can order this kit. Everything comes with it. Just click what you need. Of course, the control arms are extra, but you can add it on while you're building. So you don't have to go through and pick up a bunch of different stuff. Click on the system you want, pick the weight of your springs, yes or no to the upper control arms, and away you go. So for myself, there's not too much out on specific parts like this, so I'm going to make just quick, short little videos on each part. So if you want to know more about each part, you can go back and watch those. And if you want to see this whole kit installed on the truck, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss that. I'm going to hopefully get this on the truck soon, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching this video, and hopefully we catch you in the next one.